Are you ready?
What do you guys want to talk about?
Let me talk to you.
Yeah!
It's showtime, folks!
Throwdown Nation, what is going on? We are rolling on a Wednesday night. It is July 22nd, 2026, and we are rolling on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitch. It is episode 253 of the Throwdown. We are the community on the interwebs where we celebrate the art and sport of professional wrestling with a strong focus on the indies, bringing you engaging and in-depth conversations with the best and brightest on the indie scene worldwide. I'm your host, Matt, and today we are throwing down with a wrestler based out of Central Florida and a guy who is also a vocalist in the genre of heavy metal, which I'm excited to get into as well. Welcome with me, the Tower of Power, Damien Winters.
Woo. What's going on, brother? How we doing?
We're doing good, man. For those of you watching live, I'm sorry we're on the air a few minutes late. We were having some technical problems and kind of scrambling around, but we got it all sorted, and we're in good shape now.
It was all my fault.
Nah. And for those of you watching live, let me direct your attention to the ticker that's running on the bottom of the screen. That contains all, or at least most, of Damien's social media accounts along with mine. So do us a favor, if you aren't following or subscribed, please take the time and go to each of the platforms and do so. It definitely helps both of us. And we've already got a few people pulling in on the Instagram chat. We've got 209 Loca from the West Coast, and we've got a future guest on the show, American Bounce Fighter.
All right. What's going on, everybody?
So we'll go ahead and get started with the first and really the most obvious question, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
On and off now for looks like 12 years. Further back, I was one of those dreaded backyard wrestler kids, but I always strive to be technical. I loved the Kurt Angles and the Benoit types, so I always try to strive towards that style, which drew me into a lot more, which I'm sure we'll get into a lot later on. But that was really my heavy focus there. So probably, let's go with maybe 20 years of just trying to make the dream happen.
Gotcha. I had, last night I had Drake Xavier on. He's from your area as well, roughly.
Oh, we've known each other a long time.
Yeah, and he mentioned that he'd known you, 15, 16 years at least. But he also comes from the backyards. So there's
absolutely phenomenal too. I mean, not even with a set of solid training on him. He took to it more than most. You just see people that just naturally have it, and Drake Xavier definitely has it for sure. He's got that it factor, and honestly, I'm glad that we've been friends this long. Truthfully.
Absolutely. So who actually trained you?
I got trained by Rusty Brooks in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, right around 2012. Um, I started traveling by train from Jupiter Beach as much as I could. I had some friends down there, and we all went to Rusty's. It was roughly around 4 times a week, and from there, it just everything kind of picked up pretty quick. I had my first independent match shortly after joining his school. I mean, it was maybe a month or two, and I'm still grateful to this day to him for the little things that he taught me and the finites of the older school style of wrestling. He was very big on no one's going to work with you, like territory talk almost, that no one's going to work with you, so you gotta show the work to get in, the little finesses and the watching my back and those kind of things. And it's not necessarily as much needed these days as it used to be, but having that level of knowledge that he could provide to me, especially in such a tight-knit setting. There was probably maybe 6 of us training with him and his son J-Dog Brooks, and just that tutelage was really great to get super early on.
No doubt, no doubt. So, in the early stages of your wrestling training, what would you say was the most challenging aspect of professional wrestling for you to kind of wrap your mind and body around? And what would you say surprised you the most?
In training per se was overcomplicating things that were very simple. Getting in my own way, if you will. I got caught up a lot with overthinking the step to do something, or trying to do something with too much force or emphasis, or running into it a lot quicker than I needed to. There's a fine pace to everything, and I feel like what was really good and surprising to me is that when it did click, it clicked in such a way that it was almost like a light switch turned on, and I grasped almost everything I wasn't grasping all at once, and it felt overwhelming for a moment or two, but it was such a time where I didn't think that I was going to get past these hurdles of myself, basically. But
Yeah.
as for the athletics, I was really surprised that I could keep up cardio wise. When I first started training, I was 240 pounds, I believe. I didn't work out almost at all. And that's not necessarily great for someone in South Florida outside in a ring. It's the heat and everything else in the middle of dead summer, and just being able to keep up was impressive to me in the least, because I knew I had no need to be doing all that. So, but that was probably the biggest surprise to me, is the cardio aspect of it just kind of coming naturally to me.
So, did you come to wrestling with a previous athletic or any other type of martial art or combat sports background?
Yeah, I took Taekwondo for 3 years. In my around 10 to 13, I was quite heavy in Taekwondo. I played baseball for a couple of years, and when I got tired of that, I got in high school, and a buddy of mine said that our history teacher was making a rugby club, and I
nice.
played rugby. Yeah, so I played rugby for the last 2 years of high school, and I couldn't go any further because it was mostly colleges at the time that were still. There's only 2 of them in the entire state of Florida, and they were really high Ivy League kind of school thing where you weren't getting it. It was just for especially someone like me who was a big slacker. It was never gonna happen. But no, rugby was great for me. That was probably one of the best little surprises of my life, and trying something new. I did really enjoy rugby. But wrestling just kind of was always the backwards focus. Actually, learning some of the wrestling, learning how to bump and those kind of things actually did save me in a game one time. In rugby, you're not allowed to tackle above the waist, so it's all kind of basically taking a spear. And when when someone tackles you, you basically just have to take it and deal with it and turn over and get everyone to get over top of you. And the wrestling training put it where once the guy hit me, I had breath control, and hitting the ground and rolling out of that. It added into the other aspects of my life that I never thought it would, at least. So.
Gotcha. But yeah, my son, who is actually about to start his senior year in high school, is a lacrosse player, and he absolutely loves it. I mean, he's very good, but he's not at the level where he could play Division 1 or anything like that. I
Yeah.
mean, there's always a possibility he could play in college if he wants to, but I mean, this will probably this next year will probably be the end of his lacrosse career, at least as
Yeah.
far as playing goes. But man, he loves it.
That's great. Finding a passion in life is it's hard to come by, but when you find it, just strive for it.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. We're about to kind of touch on the other aspect of things, and what's actually really cool is when I first started live streaming, which was January of 2024, the first 6 months of the show, I was doing a very similar show, but I was actually having conversations with unsigned music bands. I'm a hobbyist musician myself, and so for 6 months I was doing that, and I expanded the topic into professional wrestling, and I discovered fairly quickly that it was easier to get reliable bookings with wrestlers than it was with musicians. So,
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
The focus of the show has largely shifted toward professional wrestling, but I still do an occasional music-related episode, and
Yeah.
the occasions where I get somebody that walks in both worlds is just the coolest thing in the world to me, because wrestling and music are my two big things.
Yeah.
So
And they go so hand in hand.
they do. They do. There's a ton of crossover in the fandom, and like I said, I've had a few people on that walk in both worlds. Actually, another guy down in Florida, a guy named Max Danziger. He
Hmm.
trains at House of Champions, and he is also the drummer for Set It Off.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You know,
actually
we,
just met
we had
both.
a great conversation, man.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
so how long have you been into music?
Since I was a kid, I was my intro to music was very different than most people. I kind of just genuinely listened to whatever my parents were listening to at the time, and I didn't really think too much of like trying to find my own music or any of that stuff. It just didn't really grab me, and that I was more of a movie kid. I was big on movies and the like, but I started getting into movie soundtracks, which most people don't say that that's how they get their musical taste. But I started listening to movie soundtracks, and I was always finding different genres of music and understanding the tempos of why they put these songs in these places, and getting into the genre of of metal as it was. The biggest flip switch for me was the Punisher movie from 2004 had a song called "Bound to Violence" by Hatebreed, and I heard that song and it set something off in me that I showed everyone I knew that song. I was like, "You ever heard this before?" Like everyone around me definitely was like, "This is not good," and I'm like, "This is the best thing I've ever heard." And I dove into metal and heavy and just all the genres going out that way really hard for a while. And before that, it was more like hip hop and crunk was really big back in the mid 2000s. I was really into crunk music, but like heavy metal really grabbed me in a way that also getting into it saw a set of community. Musical people always tend to get together in quite the way, and like you said about being in both worlds, it's very similar. Wrestling fans and music people, when they get their people around them, we're all culminating and coming together in such a cool way. And music really grabbed me that way, though. I really did love the community of it. I loved going to concerts. I was a big heavy mosh kid. I love moshing to this day. I mean, I'm going on almost 36 now, and I'll tell you, if it comes on and there's room to move, I will still get down and boogie for sure. But
Gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
that's a good grab for music on me.
So, besides vocals, do you play any instruments?
I like garbage play bass. It's rough, but I love it. I love just kind of feeling some tunes out and some vibes. I'm a big fan of jazz, so just kind of getting a little funk or a little groove, or just trying to find something to change the tone and the mood of your feelings. I'm really big on that. But yeah, bass very little. I know guitar a little bit. 6-string only. My old guitar player was a 7-string player, and still to this day I find that to be insane, because 6 is just still, I don't get enough time to practice, which I really should. But the 6 to the 7, I was like, all right, this is just too much for me, man.
Yeah. I've played guitar off and on since I was a kid, and I guess about 5 or 6 years ago now, my son took up guitar and absconded with all my guitar gear. So that Christmas, he and my wife surprised me with a bass. And I had never touched a bass, let alone tried to play one. And I, started noodling around on it, and I discovered that I'd been a bass player all these years and just never knew it. I absolutely love playing bass. I've got a 5-string Ibanez that is just my baby. I absolutely love. I love the way that particular instrument plays. It's light. It's easy to play. Man, love it.
Yeah, I have a Dean, actually. Let me see if I can't grab this really fast. It is a neon pink Dean bass. And we love her to death. She's a funky little 4-string, but she is dynamite and has the best sound. I love this thing to bits.
Nice. So, before we transition back to wrestling, who would you say are some of your musical influences?
Ooh, that's a great question. Vocally, I would go Parkway Drive was a huge influence on me. I love those guys. Mitch Lucker of Suicide Silence, before his passing, that his sound was something, I mean, most people are still striving to do or exceeding past now to try to do the amount of monster sounds people are doing now. It's getting much, but I do still love it. James Pileggi, I believe is his name, of Harm's Way. A huge fan of them. Just their early grungier tone, and just the way the vocal mix kind of comes in. Those things really grab me. That, and then musically, again, Parkway Drive. I love their collection of music. I've gotten really into the Pillows. They're a Japanese band. I've loved them for a long time, but I really just recently got back into their catalog as heavy. Back when I was like 16, I listened to them quite a bit, and just forgot how much they influenced a lot of the upbeat stuff that I tried to do with music. Megadeth, I love Megadeth. Dave Mustaine forever.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I love that they're still playing almost the same exact music in the last album that they made. It's still it sounds so much like Megadeth still, and you tend to lose that occasionally over the course of time, but I feel like they really stuck to that, and I appreciate that a lot about them, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Lately I have really been kind of going down the rabbit hole with the band Ginger.
Okay, yeah.
Tatiana, man, she's got this beautiful voice, but then she can scream like nobody's business. I mean, her voice is just otherworldly. That she can do as much as she can do. That is just wild.
Yeah, there's a few female vocalists out there now. I mean, shout out to them. They're crushing it. Spirit Box, their vocalist, is much of an angel, but can come through with the growls like crazy. I love to be able to see the dynamic switch between the soft, you can be angelic and almost melodic, and then you can switch it up and just transition effortlessly. I think that's such a skill to have, and I can't do it. So anytime I see someone able to do it, I'm really appreciative of it.
Absolutely. So before we leave music, what was the first live rock show you attended as a fan?
That's actually a funny story. I actually didn't know any of the bands I was going to see when I saw my first concert, but it ended up being the Acacia Strain, As Blood Runs Black, Bleeding Through. It was an absolute stacked lineup, and I wish I knew all these bands back then. But it was such a wild thing to do, where I'd never been to a concert. We go to this small, I think it was a Revolution Live down in Fort Lauderdale, and it was kind of a smaller room, and it packed up heavy, and it turned into a palooza as fast as possible. And that actually was probably why I love live music and being a part of that kind of community, and even with wrestling, that live aspect. There's just something to be said about being there, and you can watch it 100 times, but there's just something special about just being in a place to see it happen. It's yeah. But that was definitely my first concert for sure that got me like dry, like crazy. I got to go to everything. So.
Nice. Yeah, when my son was 13, he was kind of going through a metal phase. He has since kind of gravitated more toward hip hop, but when he was 13, I actually had the pleasure of taking him to his first rock show, and we went to see Slipknot together, and that was just amazing. I mean,
yeah, that's kick ass, man.
So, I'm presuming that you've also been at least a fan of professional wrestling the majority of your life. Is that pretty accurate?
100% accurate. Yeah. 4 years old was the marker, man.
Nice. What would you say is your earliest wrestling related memory?
I still have to say that first Monday Night Raw that I ever watched. I had just heard about wrestling maybe 8-9 hours beforehand, and I had no idea anything about it. And every kid in my class was telling me that I needed to watch professional wrestling and watch this. It's so good, blah blah whatever. Watch for these characters and this and that. And The Rock was cutting a promo. His music came on. He walked out, and just something about something about the way The Rock was doing everything, and his demeanor and the way he moved. But cutting this promo, I just remember, I can't remember what he was saying, but I remember being so encapsulated by the fact that like this was something that somebody was out there doing. And it may have just been like, obviously, The Rock, if you smell what The Rock is cooking, and I probably was,
Yeah.
right? But it was something about, it could have been anybody, but the particulars of the way he did everything, it grabbed me in such a way that I wanted to do that. I was like, this is going to be it. I'm doing this for the rest of I want to be this my whole life. And I've since stopped for a while, and you have the step away from wrestling for a little bit, and I got injured at a point, and that took me out of thinking about wrestling, period. And now that I'm back to it, I'm still forever riding the high of that first time seeing wrestling, and I just want to strive to do that. I want someone to see me doing the thing and being like, I want to do what that guy does because he does it so cool,
Absolutely. So, tell us a bit about your gym routine, and in your mind, what would you say are the most crucial exercise or group of exercises that you use to keep in ring shape with?
That's a great one. I do a lot of primal movements, getting those kind of things down, being in touch with my body and centering out was a huge thing. Just getting into fitness all over again in the last year and a half or so. My routine is usually early in the week. I'll do legs. I walk a lot for work, and I also don't want to walk into a match Friday evening and my legs are so sore that I can't do anything. I can't walk around, and I'm just being a big crybaby. I'd rather not have that happen. So early in the week, I'll do legs, leg curls, leg extensions, leg press. Then later in the week, I'll focus on abs. I'll kind of get focus heavy on abs and my quads. And then I'd say probably the back half of the week, I'm focused on chest, shoulders, forearms, biceps, and those kind of things, just to later out the later half of the week. I also put in at least 30 minutes of cardio every day. I am trying to strive to a goal where you do a 12 incline for 30 minutes at a 3.2 speed to a 3.5 speed on the treadmill. And I try to strive to get ever closer to doing that as it is. I'm currently running around an 11 incline for 3.3 is about a standard walking for me for 30 minutes minimum. And that's usually where I'll spend a lot of my time, watching wrestling and researching different things, or picking a specific person to hyper focus on for the week. And I'll use that time to really pay attention to how they work and how they move. And I also end up finding tons of new wrestlers that I'm always like, I can't believe I missed out on this person back when they were, doing it all these years ago. But after that, usually it's jumping jacks. I'm really big on jumping jacks. Squats are really, really important. Just really trying to get in any kind of space or any kind of area where you can focus solely on getting your balance right and seeing what doesn't work for you and letting yourself wobble over and trying to get right with yourself, because the more you do it, the less likely you are to continue to keep doing it, because you're striving to center out. Once you center out, you'll be so surprised that, like, oh, you can do this. Oh, you are going to be able to do this. Oh, the next weight you go to pick up, or the next push to do a workout you've never done before, you find that you can do these things a lot more. The cardio is super big important, for sure.
So kind of a companion question to this, sort of on the other end of things, what is your guilty pleasure cheat day snack of choice?
Pizza, man. I'm a pizza hound. I will eat an entire large pepperoni pizza to myself, and then I'll go work out. I'm a pizza fiend. Pizza is just that is yeah.
What is your pizza brand?
I used to be a big hater of Domino's, but right now the one here in town, this one is, I have not had a bad experience in literal months, and every time it is so good. I'm big on it.
I feel like Domino's has actually really stepped their game up these last few years. The quality of their pizza has improved tremendously.
Yeah, so. It seems like night and day. I mean, it used to be Pizza Hut was the spot to go to, and honestly, the last time I had them, it was so subpar that I was just like, I'm not doing this again. It's not worth wasting the money at that point.
Absolutely. So away from wrestling, what are some of your hobbies and interests? What do you like to do with whatever spare time you might happen to have?
I'm an anime kid. I love watching anime. I've got a couple of series I'm watching right now, so I try to punch in as many episodes as I can of that, or if stuff that I'm watching gets new episodes, I make the room and time for that. I play Destiny 2 on PS5. I've been playing it since it came out 13 years ago, and it's pretty much the only game I play. I'll venture out here and there a little bit, but I always end up falling right back to that one. So whenever I get some spare time, an hour or two here and there, then I'll play that pretty heavy. Love movies. I'm a movie cat, as I had mentioned before. I love film. I think it's crucially important in life to have film, like wrestling and like music. There's something that will change your life no matter what it is, and when you find it, it is just right with that. I love hockey. I'm a big hockey fan. Got to support the Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning. The guys. We're Florida's surprisingly becoming the hockey capital of the world, and it's surprising even Canada.
Yeah. There's talk of Atlanta getting a third opportunity at an NHL franchise, and supposedly they've got an ownership group now that actually cares about hockey and is going to do the things it takes to have hockey finally succeed here in Atlanta. So I'm hopeful. I mean, we've got the Atlanta Gladiators, who are an East Coast Hockey League team, and that they're good, they're entertaining, they play about 15 minutes from here. But having an NHL franchise back in Atlanta would just be wonderful. So I'm hopeful.
Stay hopeful for sure.
So, we're obviously a wrestling-centric show, but we do dabble a little bit into pop culture. And I'm always looking for recommendations. And you were mentioning that you're watching a couple of animes right now.
Yeah.
What are you watching, and are you watching anything else really cool or listening to anything really cool?
Anime front, a show called Black Torch just started. It's got about 3 episodes, and I'm picking that one up. It's pretty cool. A friend of mine recommended that I pick My Hero Academia back up, so I started rewatching that a little bit. It's got a rough start to it. It's a little crybaby heavy, but once you get through to it, it's got some force to it. What did I just watch recently too? Jobless Reincarnation. That's a great one. That's just started the third season, and highly recommend that one. It's definitely got a lot of introspective layers to it. I always pick up the classics, so like Yu Yu Hakusho, and I'm a big fan of One Piece, so I've been staying pretty heavy with that. I read the manga, so I'm caught up to what's current in it, and it's still coming out, 30 years later, which is outrageous at this point for a syndication. But as for you had mentioned anything cool I'm listening to, I started listening to a really cool band called Poolside at the Flamingo, and their discography is very different. It's very heavy metal, thrash metal. We got some slam kind of built in there, a little beat down. They're really good. I really enjoy their music quite a bit. There is an alternative kind of let's say alternative rock kind of like indie rock band called Twin Mill out of Switzerland that they're awesome. Those guys are super dope. Like I said, I've been listening to the Pillows a lot lately. Their album that was not based off of, but it came with an anime called Fooly Cooly. That album has been on the playlist quite a bit lately. It's got a lot of jazz influence. It's very bass funky. It's a lot of it's interesting for sure. And I also love reggae. I'm a big reggae guy. Just found a guy named Yodcore, and he's got some really groovy tunes in his discography.
Very cool. Very cool. Something that we've done in all of these is, this will actually happen later in the show, but we do a segment where the current guest gets to ask a question of the next guest. And I actually had a guest recently, a guy named D Rogue, who is from Northern California, and he's pretty big in the scene out there.
Mm-hmm.
But the question, he posed this question, and I just thought it was such a cool question that I've actually just incorporated it into my questions in general.
Yeah.
And so the question that he asked is, if your wrestling career could be summed up in a movie, what movie would it be?
That's an awesome question. That is great. Oh,
isn't it?
Wow, that took me by surprise. What is that like? That's a tough one.
Drake Xavier last night had a great answer.
Oh, what did he end up saying?
He said Superbad.
Oh yeah, let's go with Talladega Nights. It has been a roller coaster. There was a great pause in the middle. I got really down on myself hard, and I'm now taking the stride to come back swinging. And I'm also slightly funny, I guess.
So, outside of wrestling, what person inspires you the most and why?
Continues to inspire me. It's tough. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of influence, and I feel like the world in general is starting to go back into doing a lot better for itself. I mean, in a lot of ways, I think people are starting to realize we need each other a lot more than we ever have. Previously, God rest his soul, but Steve Irwin, the Crocodile Hunter, man, the way he approached life in general, I try to strive every day to just approach everything with the way he did and the understanding and the open-mindedness that, like, it doesn't matter the situation, like you can just be in it and be present and bring so much to the world at the same time.
Absolutely. That you really summed that up very nicely. So kudos to you on that. And, they say that the best wrestling personas are usually largely yourself kind of turned up to 11. So tell us about in-ring Damien Winters and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you.
I'm scum. I'm just a scummy guy. I like to be very. I like to work heel. I like getting the crowd to. They say something and I swing what they said back on them, and I like the reaction of not making them feel stupid per se, but just getting that, like, I said thing to you, but you turn that on me somehow. Seeing people's reactions that way. I've had a few really funny interactions with some people in the crowd, just calling them nerds and losers and all these other things, and I get such a kick out of that aspect of things, just getting that rise out of people. But is that really me? Yeah, I'm kind of prickly, you know. I'm a little abrasive. I come off silly. I like to joke around. I like to poke fun at people, but not in a mean-spirited way. And I only do it to people that I know very well. Like, I give everyone the opportunity to just kind of come and get used to dealing with me, you know. But I usually try to be fun and a little jokey and a little ha-ha and shaking people with things that are bugging them, and trying to get them to smile. So I think I try to use that, but in the reverse when I get in the ring. So that's kind of the 11 the other way, you know. Um, but
Gotcha.
me
Gotcha.
particularly, I'd say
Uh,
that it's got more to do with the people that inspired me, I guess, and some of the ways that they were heel that really I wanted to emphasize outward. So it's not really me, but it is me, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. Glancing over at the Instagram chat, actually, one of the stars of Millennium Pro Wrestling out in the Los Angeles area, the Funky Frog, Eddie Rohr, has just popped in. Hopefully, we're going to be getting Eddie on the show in the near future. We're working on that, and he's got quite the following and quite the gimmick going on out there. So I'm definitely excited to hopefully get him on in the future. So tell us, if you can narrow it down over the time that you've been doing this, tell us about your favorite match that you have been a part of.
My very first independent match, actually. It was a tag match.
Really?
Yeah, one of the guys that was helping train with Rusty. We all took quite a shine to each other, and him and his tag partner. They wanted a new tag team to come in to the South Florida scene. So me and Aaron Agony, we faced the Tech Squad of Mike Monroe and Trevor Reed, and this was 12 years ago. Um, that was a long time ago, but it was a hot opener tag match, and it blew all my expectations away. I did things that I don't even do now. I'd front flip dive onto the outside, and the crowd going crazy, and just lighting the whole room up, and seeing people like just erupting over what we were doing, just especially for a first showing in any kind of independent anything. It truly was a remarkable moment that I'm talking about it all this time later when I meet new people. I'm like, yeah, but you see that I did this, that's my, hey, come check this out, I did
Yeah.
this thing kind of thing. So
Very cool. So you've been doing this long enough that I'm sure you've picked up at least a few of these along the way. So what would you say is your biggest wrestling related pet peeve?
mm, proclaiming that you've been trained by somebody because you've been hanging around them. I catch that quite a bit. Or they happen to be there one night of the week, and now you have solely been trained by this person, and they'll vouch for you and all this stuff. And I get it, but also, no. And that one irks me quite a bit, and also any kind of general unnecessary ego or proclaiming you've done things. I caught a fish this big, that kind of thing. I see a lot of that, and
Yeah.
instead of expanding on what you've done in a way where you over exaggerate it, just shoot it down the barrel. If you're doing the things that you're proud of, be proud of the thing you did, not the thing you're proclaiming is happening.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a big difference between shaking someone's hand and sitting under the learning tree.
Correct. Very, very, exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
So, if you could only be one, would you rather be great in the ring or great on the mic?
Without a shadow of a doubt, great in the ring. Absolutely great in the ring. Some of my all-time favorites. They've done promos, they've done the promotional stuff, but they're recognized to this day as intense talents that transcend their time. A few of them at least, and I think the in-ring talent will last far longer than a handful of promos and a little time in the sun.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier in the show, being a fan of Chris Benoit, and I will proudly say I am also a Chris Benoit mark.
Yeah.
I mean, I can separate the man's resume of work from the man himself and how things ended up with him. Still on my Mount Rushmore as one of the best to ever do it. Terrible human being.
Absolutely.
But amazing, amazing in-ring talent.
Absolutely. Yeah. Atrocious human being.
Unmatched intensity.
Yes.
I mean,
I still haven't seen anyone to do it better. He was an all-star in the ring when it came to every single aspect of just being a wrestler. Period.
Yeah. I've often wondered, I don't want to get too far off on a tangent here, but, I've often wondered, I mean, obviously the CTE and the repetitive head injury probably played a part in the whole thing, but I've wondered if Eddie Guerrero had lived, would Benoit have gone down the downward spiral? It's one of those things we'll never know.
We'll never know.
But I mean, they were, but they were so close.
They were so close, and I think that that was a pivotal point for a lot of people when his passing was such a huge impact on so many more people than we even realized, and that definitely really could have been the ticking point.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things we'll never know the answer to, but you just wonder sometimes. But so over the time you've been doing this stuff, what has been? Have you had any unique or unusual encounters with fans? Do you have any funny fan stories or anything like that?
I have two that stick out. One, I was working in a small bar in Stuart, Florida, and I can't remember what's his name now. We're in the middle of a tag match, and this kid kept referring to us as the F word for gay people, and I turned around and I looked at him and I noticed he had a wooden bowl of popcorn in his hand, and his dad was very belligerently drunk. And I walked over to this kid and I grabbed the bowl out of his hand and I dumped the popcorn onto his head, and I said, who is it now? Who is it now? And I threw the bowl back at him. And his dad got up, stood up, pointed at his kid, and laughed so hard in his face, and I just that was just such a funny moment I will never forget. I yelled at a kid recently. I told him to shut up, nerd, and I said it with such an intensity, and we had such an eye lock, and I felt so bad afterwards. But our eyes were so locked, and I said it, and he immediately just broke down into tears. And his mom and all these people around him like, no, he's supposed to do that. That's part of the show. No, you're okay. As soon as I turned, actually, I was wrestling Shane Evans at the time, and I looked over at him and I was like, oops. So we had mid before we go to lock up about that, but it was that was a great one. I've had some interesting fan interaction outside of shows as well. I've had people tell me that I did great for the night, and I wasn't on the card, nor did I wrestle. I just happened to be standing, near someone that I knew that did, or was just around some people that knew some people, and you did great tonight. You were awesome in the ring, and I I'm just gonna go with it. You bet I did. But it's happened a few times. I just right place, right time, didn't do a thing. But thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, man, I love Shane Evans to death, man. He's been on the show a couple of times, and just a good dude.
Yeah.
Man, I can't say enough good about Shane. He's good people.
That's my guy. Another one I've known for almost 20 years as well.
So, do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? Is there a match or matches that are just near and dear to your heart that you find yourself circling back to?
Yeah. The Rock Austin from WrestleMania. That's an all-time classic. A few indie matches that I seem to resonate back to quite a bit. One being Kenta versus Marufuji. I believe it's from 08. It was one of the junior cups, and I go back to that match quite a bit. And Danielson versus Naruki Doi from Open the Dragon Gate. That match, I will always show people that match. I don't know what it is about the way that match is set up. Everything about it was it felt very cinematic to watch. And not only was I able to, keep showing this match to people, but being there on top of it felt like something that I was a part of. So it gives me a special little spot that I was there, and it's just really great to watch back over. A lot of wrestling doesn't get the credit for being solid, because when you go back a lot of times, if the audio isn't on, especially if it's just a punch fest, it's kind of boring. But if you can look back on something and see it and just see that this is a finite technical spectacle, all right, let's that's what we strive for.
Yep. Earlier today I actually caught the newest episode of Dark Side of the Ring, and it was about Joe and Necro Butcher, and I had forgotten just what a showcase of brutality that match was.
The exploder off the apron, still, it makes me cringe every time I see it. Every time.
Yeah. I mean, those two guys really went all out and hung it all out there, man.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah, that is a spectacle to see for sure.
Absolutely. So, kind of piggybacking off of that question, do you have an all-time favorite promo as a fan?
Yes and no. There are some that were just cheeky lines in promos. There's a lot, honestly, a lot of them are just the classic Macho Man Randy Savage promos. I think he was so dynamite, just within a way of making like wrestling feeling very big, and not necessarily like the older style of Dusty Rhodes and those kind of guys that gave those kind of promos out. But Macho Man had such a way with promos that I still very much appreciate. And The Rock's promos were always super entertaining. He had these really good one-liners. And I feel like his intensity going into, Rock Austin for Mania, that level of intensity he brought to that, I mean, I don't think he's gone back to that since. And I feel like that build was just really, really solid on that end.
Absolutely. So this is one of these questions that the answer can literally change almost moment to moment, hour to hour, day to day. But at this very moment, in your opinion, who are the best male and best female wrestlers in the world? Who is the best man and who's the best woman?
I'm rather out of the loop on most of what's going on. I know that there's a lot of great ones out there. For the male aspect, I just shoot for Will Ospreay. I've seen a lot from him, and a lot of the matches I've seen of his are all absolutely dynamite. Female wise, I think there's such a wide spectrum of people out there that I can't really just kind of like finite it to one. Yeah, I just being so out of the loop. I don't want to, I don't want to pick somebody now, but like you said, it changes from day to day, here to there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And, I will not argue with you on Ospreay, though. I mean, right now he is operating on a level that is just unreal. And the match he's got coming up with Kenny at All In is just going to be sick.
Yeah.
I mean,
everything I've been seeing coming out of AEW and what he's doing and any matches he's having in Japan, I mean, they're all always they're so worth the watch that, you know, even people saying that he's overhyped or anything else, it's like, well, I don't think it's overhyped. I think it's hype at just the right level because he is putting on that quality work.
Absolutely. So, and this can be present day or past. Who would be a dream opponent? Who would you love to have the opportunity to share a ring with?
Jushin Thunder Liger, for sure. I would love to wrestle
Nice.
Liger. You know, subtly but surely, I'm trying to work my way into feeling like maybe I can have the internet help me out a little bit, and maybe seeing as Liger finally retired and never had anyone to take up the mantle of the character, you know, let me become the next Jushin Thunder Liger. You know, it not only would be an honor, but it would be probably the coolest thing I could try to aspire to do at this point. Like one of his rivals, Tiger Mask. You know, there were so many Tiger Masks. There's only ever one Liger, so. Yep. Liger would be a huge one. There is a lot, actually. Kenta, I would love to wrestle Kenta. I would absolutely get dog walk, but I would love every second of it. Jonathan Gresham, I would love to work Jonathan Gresham. I think he's a phenomenal talent.
Oh my gosh.
He's so good.
Yeah, I mean, he is a technician's technician.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and looking like a pretzel probably wouldn't be so bad if he's doing it, you know.
Yeah.
The classic. I mean, obviously the big ones. I was a huge guy with TNA back in the mid 2000s and things. So, you know, Christopher Daniels would be a great one. AJ, if he, you know, obviously he's retired, and that's way beyond my light years. Joe, obviously a great one. Danielson, I would. If I ever got to step foot in a ring with Bryan Danielson, and I mean, even just standing across the ring from each other, that would just be the coolest thing. Because damn, is he good? He's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The list is almost, and Macho Man, the classic, you know, '90s era rock. D'Lo Brown, I love D'Lo Brown, and that would be sick. It'd be so cool. But yeah, I could just go on and on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, I get it. You know, I've never trained in professional wrestling, but I trained for a number of years, several years ago, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you know, and I've always enjoyed watching the wrestlers that have at least some level of a Jiu-Jitsu background, because I feel like they carry themselves differently in the ring, and you know, I've got this unrealistic bucket list thing where I would love to roll a round of jiu-jitsu with Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a brown belt. And I mean, he would mop the mat with me, but I would be prepared to just tap my brains out. Yep. I mean, you know.
Right, exactly.
So what is your favorite move? What is something you just really enjoy doing? And then on the flip side of that, is there a move that you won't do or you would at least rather not do? And that can be either giving or receiving.
Favorite move? Sit out powerbomb, the Liger bomb, man. Just I love a classic good sit out powerbomb. It has always popped me. I also do the sit out powerbomb. So that's a move I also love to do. As for moves that I wouldn't take, I'd probably have to go with the Rubik's Cube. Was one of Chris Hero's old moves. He'd place you into the electric chair and then grab you around your head and bring you down into a sit out from up there. I just landing on my neck like that. I don't think I would love to do that. It's almost like taking the vertebraker, which I have taken and was surprisingly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But again, I was terrified to take that. But yeah, I would not want to take that.
Yeah. You know, I've actually mentioned in the past that as a fan, I always get a queasy feeling when I see a vertebraker being set up for, because it just seems like there are so many ways that could go catastrophically bad.
Oh,
And
height difference,
you know, and
height difference alone will set that move up for disaster immediately.
yeah, yeah. And you know, I remember back during the Monday Night Wars, especially on the WCW side, they were throwing vertebreakers around like it was candy. I mean, almost every match had a vertebraker in it,
Yeah,
and I just wonder how nobody died. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yeah, I've seen a few vertebreakers that just they're scarier looking than I ever thought that someone taking that move was going to end up taking it, and you know. But yeah, the WCW back in the day, they were throwing them out like they were candy on Halloween.
Yep, absolutely. So, knowing everything you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Uh, Bruce Lee once said that if you speak bad about yourself, and this might not be accurate on the full terminology, but when you're speaking bad about yourself, whether you're joking or not, that your body, your spirit, your energy doesn't recognize it either way. And I'm very hard on myself. I'm a stickler for things. If I do even something a slight foot off or anything that I just feel like it was terrible, you know. And it's not. I'm learning to be a lot more understanding of that. I'm able to do these things, and I should be grateful that I can even do them now. I'm glad that I can even walk. But just not being as hard on myself on things that were so trivial, and looking down on myself for things that I you know I was already making strides in, and I should have made myself feel a lot better about those things than trying to drag myself down. And I'm thankful to a lot of my friends for pointing out that I'm really bad about doing that. And to this day, I still do, but I try my hardest not to.
Absolutely. You know, we can all be our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
I mean, and really, you know, over the years, and it sounds like you've kind of arrived at this conclusion as well, but over the years, I've discovered the importance of showing yourself grace.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
it's hard to do.
Yeah, it really.
You know, because but yeah, it's hard to do, but it's also something important to integrate into your life and your worldview.
Absolutely.
But so, do you have any pre-show traditions? Any things that you try to do consistently before you walk through the curtain?
One of the things that I like to do every show is a bump and feet up drill. I will bump the mat and I will feet up facing the next corner, the next rope. I will do that 4 times just to get myself centered. I don't know why that's the thing that I do, but I just, as soon as I do it, I understand how the mat's going to feel. I understand how I'm feeling for the day, which doesn't make any sense, but it just, to me, it gets me in a zone where I'm now good to get ready. And as someone with anxiety and depression and those kind of things, you know, to get myself right before some things when I'm not feeling my utmost, you got to have something to do it. And then making sure to drink a lot of water, you know, drink as much water as I can. And, you know, hydration's really huge. And other than that, now more recently than ever, I try to make sure to do at least some kind of calisthenic exercises, do some push-ups, some jumping jacks, you know, just keep my heart rate at a nice steady pace where, you know, I'm not letting myself get into a slump or anything. But it's really about it. I don't do too much stuff.
Gotcha. So give us a quick rundown of your gear bag. What all do you carry in your gear, and do you carry anything unique or unusual?
I guess it's not unique or unusual, but I like to carry gloves. If I got to put a ring together, I don't love having any kind of residual of wherever they were keeping or any of that stuff, dust, rust, you name it, the pads, the whatever. I always try to keep a pair of work gloves on me just because that's, why be gross, you know? Keep your hands safe, keep everybody, keep yourself. You gotta wash your hands so many damn times. I like to keep an exercise just a little ropes where I can do some curls and those kind of things. My gear bag usually will consist of I put my kick pads in first, lay those out on the bottom. I'll stick my shoes in the side bag, and then I'll start adding in, my tights and my gear and those things, and then layer it off with my elbow pads and knee pads. I like to make sure that I keep at least 3 things of wrist tape, because you have no idea when you start rolling wrist tape how many people say, "Oh man, you have white wrist tape. Can I get some?" And without a shadow of a doubt, I love to be the guy to be like, "Yeah, no problem. Now you've got wrist tape," kind of thing, And I try to keep that bag light, and then I'll bring a second bag with just either change underpants, socks, those kind of things. But then I can put my dirty gear into that bag without having to put all my dirty gear back into the bag that I set everything in to begin with. And then I can just have everything separated. So if I want to wear a different set of gear, a different night, that's now not smelling like the gear that I just wore for, the 15, 20 minutes I'm out there.
Absolutely. So, like I mentioned earlier, something that we've done in all of these that's just been kind of fun is we've let the current guest pose a question for the next guest. And last night I had your pal Drake Xavier on the show. And the question that he posed is, if you could describe your wrestling persona as a Dungeons and Dragons character class, what would it be?
Oh man, as a fellow Dungeons and Dragons player, that is a great question. It's very vague. I'd say if I'm going face, I would 100% go with a paladin. I like to like to embrace everybody else and raise them up and those kind of things. I'd say if we're gonna go heel, I would probably try to be a lich. I want to be evil, villainous. I want to conquer the world and make everybody feel the wrath of that on the way out. That's why the music's heavy. That's why the energy's the way I try to provide it out. But yeah, a paladin or a lich for sure. Balance it both.
Love it, love it, love it. So, since this is part of a series, do you have a question you would like to ask to the next guest?
Where is your ceiling? Where's the ceiling on your wrestling now? And where do you see yourself going after that?
That is a really good question. How would you answer that?
Right now, being totally honest and just shooting it out there, I want to wrestle in Japan. I want to at least wrestle one time in front of a Japanese crowd before I give all this up. Every day we're not getting any younger, but my big strive now is I would love to wrestle at least one time in Japan. And if I did get that opportunity, I'd say sky's the limit on that point. I'd love to continue to work around Japan and see what their crowd base has to offer and what I can learn from there. Probably end up in Canada or Mexico and see what their styles have to offer and move from there. But my big strive right now would definitely is working in Japan for sure.
Very cool. So, during his farewell tour, John Cena kept bringing up the concept of leaving wrestling better than he found it. And that really resonated with me, and I just thought, well, what a cool thing to strive for. And so I've kind of incorporated that into my repertoire here. So, what are you doing in your wrestling career to try to ultimately leave the sport better than you found it?
I would say trying to let other people have an opportunity to do things, to strive to want to put their things in their matches. I want everyone to not only walk into a match working against me, feeling comfortable, but I want them to walk away from it saying like, this guy gave me such room and gave me such an opportunity to do my moves, to do the things that I wanted to hear me out on whether or not we were going to do these things, and then provide that to the next person that they're working. Younger workers, they all are getting in a mindset now where they're friends. So being friends with somebody is going to get me into a match, and that's going to move it along further. I love to see the kids that they have the things they're striving to do, but they're not giving themselves the voice or putting their foot down to say, hey, I'd love to get this and I'd love to do this thing. Like, what if we tried this? What if we did what you're doing, but like tweaked it a little bit? Everyone having a voice, and the more collaborative we can all be, I feel like not only is that going to continue to elevate wrestling to the levels that it's continuing to strive to, but I think in the aspirations of people even my age that look back on the matches that we grew up with, that's what we wanted to do. So why don't we have all of us try to help each other get to a point where everyone can have the moment that they want to have, even if it's small. It's everything we get every day is 1% more than we're getting than we would get if we didn't have that day, But that's kind of the big,
Absolutely.
for sure.
So we're pretty much at the end of things now. So do you have any upcoming shows or anything at all that you want to give some hype to?
Yeah, Pro Wrestling Rebellion is having their back to school slamboree thing. And it is a free show out in New Smyrna Beach. They're doing a backpack giveaway for kids that are that don't really have it to get, and parents can have a chance to strive in and get some school supplies for their kids. And I think working with people that want to work with kids and help them out is dynamite. And then my next booking after that is August 15th with World Famous Wrestling out in Ocala. And there's a few things in the pipelines down the way, nothing solid confirmed yet, but every day's another chance to get booked. So, but those are the
Absolutely.
right now.
Do you have anything going on musically?
I've kind of taken a back seat to music on that aspect. A lot of the bandmates that I did have gone on to do other projects, and between slow ups and getting injured and things a while back, it just kind of took away from a lot of what we were doing. So I still make music here and there. I do it solo. I have most of this is my little studio space that I've got here. I use the SMB7. And I mix stuff. I'll make rap music and heavy metal and just try different things to see where it goes. But it just at least gives me that outlet. So not necessarily working particularly on anything major project, but definitely still after it for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, as far as what we've got coming up on the Throwdown, a week from today, July 29th, 7 p.m. Eastern, we've got episode 254, and our guest is a wrestler actually based right here in the great state of Georgia, CJ Montana. And as far as the future goes, I am booked actually through the month of August and also the first half of September. So I'm booked about 6 weeks out, doing usually 2 to 3 episodes a week. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming, so definitely keep an eye on my socials. And like I said, there's definitely some cool things talking about, some of coming, some of which I'm still finalizing, so I'm not really at liberty to talk about some of it. But yeah. Anyway, for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be seeing this on replays and such, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, definitely do the old like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I just noticed over in the Instagram chat, Chris Page from CCP Podcasting just showed up and said to tell you hello.
Hey, my man, how's it going?
And so until next Wednesday at 7 p.m. with CJ Montana, be good to each other, love each other,